Hello, my name is Hunter Hill. I'm here to talk about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs in humanistic theory and Freud's theory of personality and how they interact with the 8 stages of life. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs can be broken down by using a pyramid that is separated into 2 categories: deficiency needs and growth needs. Now, I also added 3 other sublevels to the pyramid to help categorize the hierarchy of needs. I saw them on a diagram, and I thought that they'd be very useful in helping depict the type of needs for deficiency. So, like, basic needs would be like, physiological, which is like food and water, and then also home and safety. And then psychological needs would be, like love and belonging and self-esteem. So we'll start first with deficiency needs and growth needs. So deficiency needs are needs that each person tries to fulfill throughout their life. The level of importance decreases as you ascend the pyramid. So obviously it's more important to eat and drink every day than it is to get a kiss from someone every day, for example. Growth needs stem from the individual wanting to be a better person. So the highest achievable growth would be self-actualization, which is here at the top of the pyramid. This is when one is at peak potential and has the whole pyramid satisfied. And then to clarify on deficiency needs, as these needs are filled, obviously the importance of the needs would decrease because, when you're hungry, you only need to keep eating, right? But it's actually inverted for growth needs. So as these needs are fulfilled, the need for wanting more growth only continues to grow. So now it is time to address the hierarchy of needs and how it relates to the 8 stages of our lifespan. So I am only on stage 6 out of 8, which is emerging adulthood, which you see here. And so although I would like to say I know all about myself and who I am as a person, sadly, I just can't. So all throughout my prenatal stage of development, my mother took very good care of me. She never smoked, drank, or did any drugs, and for that I am thankful. And at this point, I have my physiological safety needs required. My needs that are met, and love and belonging is also met. But esteem isn't really touched here in prenatal because you're not really having any kind of emotions at that point. My first 2-year stage of my life was successful because my mom both breastfed and she did formula. I have love and belonging from my family at this point at 2 years, and a lot of psychological challenges for growth are being met because I'm trying to learn how to walk and talk and all that kind of stuff. In my early to middle childhood periods, I start to find myself my sense of belonging in the world. This may seem early, but I think our belonging is updating all the time in our life throughout, school and finding friends and belonging in your family and just straight up finding belonging in the world. The adolescence period of anyone's life is awkward and can be a range of emotions. This is usually when kids go through puberty. So this is like the middle school and high school stage. All of these are pretty much met, but everyone's looking to find belonging and trying to fit in during this stage, and we're all acting like everything's the biggest deal in the world. But most of the time, esteem is the biggest one that is affected in adolescence. When I was a sophomore, I had a group of friends, and we all poked fun at each other, but a lot of it was centered around making fun of me, and I just got sick of it, and my self-esteem really plummeted, and it was kind of hard to pull that back out of that hole. But with the help of some counseling, I was able to recoup. But as I climb the lifespan ladder, I approach emerging adulthood, which is basically when I'm at right now, because I'm in my early 20s. I'm starting to figure out my esteem and what makes me happy. I have found love that is not family. I have found love in my family, and I have established belonging with core friends and belonging with a career path. Since I don't really feel as though I am fully in the period of middle adulthood just yet, I would like to nominate my father, since he is my role model in almost every aspect of my life. So my dad has all of his deficiency needs met and is working right now on his growth needs. He does not like to donate, but he does like to help. So he's stingy with his money because he knows that he could need it at any point in time, especially right now with COVID-19 going on. But all in all, he is a very generous person. He's comfortable with who he is. He is loved by his wife and family and has job security as well as home. So all of his deficiency needs are being met right now, but he's working on his growth needs. Like I said, he's working on becoming a better father, a husband, and trying to improve our economic position. But my grandfather, on the other hand, he is who I will mention for late adulthood. Grandpa has 4 daughters and 12 grandchildren and a wife. He is a proud man who works hard and is financially sound. He is living every day right now farming just for something to do. They travel and work. Sounds like a dream, to be honest. They're set in almost every aspect of life. They have achieved self-actualization. And when it comes to death and dying, I think my grandparents will pass knowing their family loves them and that a legacy will be left behind. And because they know that, they aren't exactly afraid of death, which is always better than being afraid, in my opinion. So now we'll hop over to Freud's theory of personality here. So this is a topic that I've always found extremely interesting, the personality. Freud says that we have 3 parts of our psychoanalytic personality here. And the first is our ID. So the first part of our mind is the primitive and instinctual part. So the ID basically tells us to take what you want or to say what you're thinking. The ID only really cares about yourself, like I show here. It's impulsive and selfish. Superego is the second part. Our superego is the rule follower. Our superego helps keep our ID in check. However, if our ID overpowers the superego, then the ID will just pretty much do what it pleases. The final part of our personality is our ego, which is basically our personality and who we are as a person based on the conflicts between ID and superego throughout our childhood. Someone who has a healthy ego has had several internal fights with ID and superego as they grow. Most of our struggles would happen in childhood. An example could be sharing in the toddler and early childhood stages. I really do not want to share your toy with someone else, you know? I'm sorry, the example that I'm trying to use is a child who does not want to share a toy. If you really don't want to share your toy with someone else, your ID will tell you to hog it all for yourself. But your superego knows that it is polite to share. These kinds of internal struggles also affect the child's self-esteem, D need, from Maslow's hierarchy pyramid. But honestly, not always in a good way. So let's say that the person who's trying to get the toy from someone is asking politely, but the child says no, then that could affect his esteem in a negative way. And actually, it could affect the self-esteem of the kid who said no also in a negative way, because it makes him kind of an ass for not sharing, and it's not a very good personality trait to try to develop as a kid. So that's why they always push sharing in childhood play. The ego is constantly trying to balance the desires of our ID and superego. If our ego cannot balance them, then the person will most likely develop anxiety issues. When I was a junior, during wrestling season, I was a very unhappy person. Now, I'd been wrestling since 6th grade, but I was very unhappy, and I didn't like it anymore as a junior, mainly because I think I was cutting a lot of weight. So that was really affecting my state of mind. But my parents and all my friends were telling me to keep going, but I didn't want to. And I knew the part of me that didn't want to was my ID. I was being selfish. I just wanted to quit and give up. But my superego knew that it's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Listen to the people who know what's best for you. Follow your morality. And eventually, I stuck it out for the rest of the year, and I'm so glad I did, because I grew so much as a person for getting through that part of my life. From prenatal to about early adulthood, our personality is being created. Now, this is not saying our personality is concrete either. My mom used to be very antisocial, but after going to law school in her 40s, which she says isn't a midlife crisis, but I always joke with her that it is, she developed confidence in public speaking and is not afraid to speak her mind. And I think that's great, because my father's the same way, and they're very confident people, which helps our self-esteem as children. So our ID is usually not visible, but our ego and superego will be. Now for this, I will switch over to this picture here. This glacier picture helped me understand the parts of our mind that is visible to the world and the part that is not. So this part right here, this part of our superego and our ego is above the waterline, and that is part of our conscious mind. Now we think about all these decisions that these two make, right? But down here is our superego that we don't think about, which this part's interesting because this is unconscious below the waterline, right? So this is the part that we don't ever really think about. So like, let's say part of a superego that's unconscious mind would be stopping at a red light when it's dead at night at 1 a.m. You know that you have to follow this rule, but why would you? No one's really around, but you do it anyway. It's unconscious. But the ID part that's unconscious is a constant state of mind. Superego's in both, but ID is constantly unconscious, So the way that Maslow's and Freud's theory intertwine would most likely be in childhood. A lot of our esteem is established before our 20s. And our personality is also creating itself with our struggles as a child. So what I'm trying to say here basically is that in this theory, self-esteem, I would think, and self-actualization, they really intertwine with who we are as a person, and that would help tie it in with Freud's theory of personality here. So thank you for listening. This is all I really have. I'm sorry for the crude drawings. I'm not a very creative person. I was planning on writing a paper until I read the directions several times, and I know that they're kind of crude drawings, but this is how I learn. I'm a very visual learner, so writing this all out really helped me. I appreciate you for listening, and have a good rest of your quarantine, I suppose.